Well, the fun, I know it's the funniest sign I ever saw because I was the officer of the deck. And
You got the bird's eye view.
These three sailors were returning the ship, except one of them was passed out. The other two were just barely able to
get him back.
They were bringing him. Remember, we were tied up at the end of that old crappy pier.
Yeah.
They were. One had a foot locked in this arm, the other one had the other foot locked, and they were staggering down the pier. They'd go apart, and this guy's legs was stretched out like a, then they'd bang together and all he had between him and those cross ties, which was the collar on the jump.
Captain and the commander would stand up there on the flag bridge and watch it and just dilate. You never put a man on report? They would take him down there, and he had 2 stretcher bearers from the sick bay to take him down to sick bay and check him out, all right, put him in the boat. I saw him actually come there with a dump truck load and dumped him out on the dock, and the crane went out with a cargo net, let it down and laid him in.
That's just what I was going to say. They also had a cargo net down there.
You see, the old town, Kodiak, was like the old movie ones. Boardwalks and
mud streets.
Mud streets, mud up to your knees. You get on that bus at one time. I didn't get to go over to the third time because the rate wasn't enough. They had so many on there, they had to wait, you know. But anyway, you come back in the last bus, it was up chuck, ankle deep.
Yeah.
I was sitting beside of a kid, you know, your collar would open up like that. And I was sitting behind this guy went whoop right down another net in front of us.
Oh, man. I had shore patrol deal one time when we had these guys that laying in the bunk. They just puked all over. Well, I got sick just looking at them, you know.
So I climbed up on turret 4, smoking my pipe, and I drank all of that stuff. After a while, I began to get sick. And there's somebody sitting on every rung of the ladder, all the way up that turret 4 to the top. I told them, I said, boys, I'm sick. I need to get down from here. And wouldn't anybody move. So I started making my way to the ladder there, and about that time I cleared the ladder.
We had Marine gun crews, Marine board, and they were officers there. They'd stand their guard duty on their decks. When we come back from shore onto the ship with our bottles hidden in our sock, they kind of break them. They're billy clubs.
We had a bottle of whiskey that somebody smuggled on board.
That's right.
That was me.
And that was against the rocks and shoals of the Navy too, buddy. That means rules and regulations.
Rocks and shoals?
That's what it was called. That's right.
Okay.
That was the laws of the sea. Yeah, our laws anyway.
That was I think it was Christmas Eve. We drank that bottle. We didn't have any more that we could get a hold of. Then we started taking the medical alcohol.
Yeah. Well, that, you know, medical alcohol was pure grain alcohol.
I know. We
How
had
did
to mix it.
How did you feel the next day?
I passed out. I passed out that night. And the ship was rocking. See?
So were you.
And they were afraid that I was going to get hurt. So they put me on the bench in the after gyro.
Yeah, that was a good hideout down there.
They got my belt and they tied it to the cable.
So you wouldn't fall off.
So I wouldn't fall off.
I remember we lost one man.
That was it.
That was him.
He got wound with that whiskey. And
well, that was Saki, wasn't it?
Saki, whatever.
Yeah.
Over the side he went. They passed it up in these here, them sand pans. They passed up bamboo poles with a hickey.
Yeah.
Dang.
Remember when the whaleboat sunk in Espiritu Santos, when they carried the beer for the beer party, and
That'd be a disaster. Oh,
it sunk. The whaleboat sunk there at the dock, over there in the little island where we go over and drink beer.
I don't remember that either.
And there was a CB battalion up there, and there was no water to drink, and I didn't drink beer very much, and I was thirsty. I got this CB battalion, and I start to get a drink out of a Lister bag hanging in front of a tent. And the guy come barreling out of the tent and started yelling at me. And I said, I just want a drink of water. And he said, across the street, we're making raisin jack on this in the sun. You know, cooking in the sun for a minute. Yeah. Those guys they're hustlers. They were just hustling all the time.
Every once in a while you hear the G-Dunk stand is now open.
Yeah, but time, see, where's deck force? And time of deck force got the word it was open, they were closed. Time you get down there, there's only open a little short while. And you know, and they had some candy bars.
And they also sold shaving lotion there, didn't they?
Shaving lotion.
I mean, that was a good, you know, after dinner
appetizer.
You never did find the 190 proof alcohol then, did you?
What?
The 190 proof alcohol.
No, I never did find that. I didn't know it was on there.
Was that ethyl alcohol?
Yes, it was. Well, you had to strain the ethyl alcohol because it had lead in it. But that medical alcohol, oh, that was beautiful.
That's what we were supposed to use on the
when you were feeling low and you was peaking, you knew if you knew a pharmacist, mate, he'd say, come down, you don't look good. And he'd give you a shot of that with some juice or water with it.
Grapefruit.
Oh, yeah, it's straighten you out. Oh, good what ails you. Snake bites, trigger bites, and all that other stuff that you might encounter on a ship.
That was the excuse. You had to have the drink for that stuff.
If you believe that, I got a bridge for sale.
You remember they used to bring the beer on the ship, put in the cooler. When we went on Liberty over to these islands, they'd send 2 cans per person. You remember that?
Tried to get everybody drunk, didn't they?
Well, not on 2 cans. But anyway, we was on a working party, having to move that beer down to the cooler. They watched us close. They just didn't want any of that beer disappear.
So you're the guy that sold the 2 cans of beer to the guys on the island, weren't you?
I did what?
You sold the beer to the guys on the island?
I never sold it.
Too good to sell, wasn't it?
Oh, I drank it. I didn't sell it.
One guy gave $50 for one beer. That was Sweetie. Remember who Sweetie? Yeah. I heard rumors where he gave I think $20 for a ticket. I don't know, but them tickets were like gold.
All I know, it was green beer.
Yeah.
Make you sick more than anything else.
It's Pittsburgh beer.
Yeah.
I remember when I got my 2 cans of beer and I went down a gangplank and I took 1 sip of it and I spit it out and then gave the other can away and I went back up and said, I'm not drinking hot beer.
It was hot.
It was hot.
So, and then we go on the beach for our liberty and they give us the beer off the ship, the warm beer. A lot of guys didn't want to go, but we always went. One time there was only 18 of us went off the ship.
They'd take a case of beer and they'd put it in a barrel of aviation gasoline. They had a generator going there and they'd throw a hose down in there and they'd boil that gasoline around it and they'd pull that case of beer out for $1 and they'd chill your beer for you. And it would just turn frost.
The working party had it back in the aviation. They had it stored down by steering aft. They raised the airplane up in the elevator to get in the storeroom to get the beer out. And we were going to have a party over on the island. When it come time to go have the party, the case was full of empty cans. The guys had already had the party. They were down in there behind that elevator, and they had a party of their own.
Well, I wasn't in on that party.
The night the war was over, the night we was sitting there off of Okinawa there when the report was over, and they shooting all the stuff up in the air, and you know they was firing all the ordnance they had in the world up, and it was coming down on the ships. And I was in a 5-inch director, and we had an ensign with us. I said, well, can't you get something to drink? He said, I can't get any whiskey, but I can get some alcohol. He said, go get it. So he takes off and gets this alcohol. We went over to the turret, and we got some grapefruit juice powder, and we mixed it with water, and that alcohol, sick bay alcohol. And we drank that. I didn't get relieved till 8 o'clock in the morning. I was on mid-watch, and no one ever relieved it. Everyone got drunker than skunks. And that was some night. And shrapnel coming down from the beach.